So here, I have a MacBook Air with no power. Paul's favorite. So let's open this MacBook up and see what's going on with it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to see if this is posting. Now, when I hit the caps lock key, I would expect to see that the caps lock key turn green if this is actually on and has a brain, which it clearly does not do. See what happens if I hit the power button. Alright, so when this thing turns on, the fan spins at full speed, and again, it's brain dead. Hear that fan spinning? The caps lock key doesn't do anything. I'm also kind of curious where CPU vCore is going to be on this. Let's take a look and find CPU vCore. Wait a second. Why is there a fan over here if there's a heatsink over there?
Yeah, it's a fake-ass cooling system.
Wait a second. What the fuck is this? Why is there a heatsink over here that doesn't go anywhere, and then a fan over here? What is the fan blowing? The heatsink ends over here. There's a heatsink over here, and there's a fan over here, but the heatsink does not reach the fan. But what is this fan blowing? What is the purpose of this heatsink? What does this fan do?
Nothing.
Besides make noise. Is this a placebo fan? Okay, so here we have an A1932. Nothing visible. Nothing blown up. Nothing corroded. They just out of the blue decided to stop booting and showing a display. That does not respond to anything on the screen. Oh my god. Speaking, the CPU on this one is probably as dead as the CPU on Paul's right here. This is Paul's queue. That's the CPU. Those are the CPU MOSFETs that power the CPU and split up 12 volts to be 1 volt for the CPU. Oh man. So, I'm going to guess that the reason that this machine is brain dead, even though it has its primary power rails, is because Apple. So, in any normal computer, let's just go over how this works. In a normal computer, the heatsink goes to a fin, and then that fin is where all the heat goes to, has a fan on it, and the fan is going to blow the heat away. In an Apple product, the way it works is the fan sits over here, and then it's just in this area with nothing. And then you have the heatsink over the CPU, but the heatsink is all the way over there, like over here, whereas the fan is over there, and there's nothing sitting by the heatsink and the fan, so that it just burns itself to death, and then the CPU dies. Very similar to all those A1534 models, where the CPU is just randomly dying, or people would report random crashing or distortion on the screen, and after they get random crashing and distortion on the screen, it would just stop turning on, or it would turn on, but be completely brain dead. It would take 600 milliamps, all the power rails and the SO power rails would be there, but it would never post. One of the problems that Apple seems to have nowadays is that they've gone from using inadequate cooling, or fans that are too small, or fans that are too quiet, or heatsinks that are too thin, to not even having a fin between the heatsink and the fan. And this doesn't make sense to me, because if you're going to have a fan in your computer, I would imagine that this fan should be actually blowing on something that would cool the rest of the computer. This heatsink over here, I don't understand. Perhaps somebody in the comments can explain to me the think different genius that occurred in the design of this product. And perhaps you can explain it to the hundreds of thousands of users with dead A1534s, with dying CPUs, and eventually all of the people that have an A1932 that have a dead CPU as a result of it being brain dead. Apple. What this, I think, means is that we are going to have a lot of business in the next coming months where we utilize this machine over here called a Xiaomao, where Paul is going to replace the CPU, where Paul is going to be replacing the CPUs in our new store that we're going to be getting. We're actually going to have an office that is for nothing besides Xiaomaoing new CPUs onto these products due to Apple's terrible cooling system. No. It sounds like Paul is excited for this new phase of Apple logic board repair that we're coming up on, which is going to be most likely primarily CPU replacement. So that's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. And if you're designing systems, designing cooling systems, thermal systems, I really hope you learned something from Apple's design on how to put together a proper cooling system within a laptop. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something.